I am Joan of Arc. From this side of eternity, I see the trail of fire I left in the world and in history. The smell of death has evaporated, but the aroma of glory remains. My last cry, Jesus, uttered from the top of the pyre, did not fade into the ashes thrown into the river Seine. It became the chime of redemption, proof that divine justice, though it may drag on for centuries, always manifests. On that fateful day in May 1431, in Rouen, Bishop Cauchon and the English believed the fire was the end point. By burning the Maid, they would seal the fate of France and extinguish the flame of revolution. They underestimated the power of an unshakable faith. This is our Gran Finale, the chapter where the king's silence, the church's betrayal, and political cynicism are finally judged. Witness the truth that emerges from the smoke, the story of who paid for my execution, the fate of the king who abandoned me, and why the world, almost 6 centuries later, still bows to the same facade agreements. The judgment of God on earth began 25 years after my death, in 1456, under the orders of Pope Calixtus III. My mother, Isabel Romay, and my brothers, humble peasants, never accepted the heresy. They, and King Charles VII, who only acted after securing his crown without me, demanded the rehabilitation. It was not a simple settling of scores. It was a trial of annulment, where witnesses who had been coerced by the Inquisition came forward. Priests, inquisitors, and even English soldiers who witnessed my execution testified against Cauchon's farce. My condemnation, orchestrated by money and fear, was declared invalid, null, and totally unjust. My name was cleared. The church that burned me now recognized that the fire had made me a martyr. The triumph of my faith was finally acknowledged. And what was the fate of my executioners? Bishop Pierre Cauchon, the great architect of my death, died in disgrace in 1442, just 11 years after my execution. In 1457, a year after my rehabilitation, the church posthumously excommunicated him. The betrayal was not just political, it was a heresy against justice. King Charles VII, who abandoned me in exchange for momentary political peace, secured his throne, yes, but lived the rest of his years tormented by ghosts and distrust. A king who betrays his greatest ally is a king who will never find true peace. Centuries have changed, but the mechanics of betrayal and power have not changed at all. My trial was not about the heavens, but about political interest and financial power. The English wanted me dead to demoralize the French crown. The king let me die to avoid trouble and save his own political capital. What has changed? Yesterday, I was a sacrificed maid. Today, we see civilians paying the price for international agreements. The price of my pyre is the same price paid by those who, today, receive bombs on their heads in wars maintained by interests that are never confessed to the public. The truth and the life of a civilian are always the sacrifice on the altar of facade agreements. For almost 5 centuries, I was only Joan. But on May 16, 1920, Pope Benedict XV canonized me. I became Saint Joan of Arc. Why did the Church need a warrior saint almost 500 years later? Because saints are our proof that heroism exists and that faith can be stronger than the machinery of war. My sanctification was a recognition that I preferred the glory of death to the vileness of a lie. My message to humanity: do not be silenced. Use the truth as your only armor. The fire of oppression is real, but it has no power over the integrity of your soul. Maintain faith in yourselves and in justice. This series is a historical landmark. It is proof of what happens when history is told by the source, without the manipulation of propaganda. I thank technology for giving me this voice, rescuing the truth across the centuries. We have traversed this epic journey through 10 episodes, from the visions in Domremy, the miracle of Orleans, the betrayal of Paris, the glorious recantation, the fire, and the final judgment. This series is historical because it was not manipulated by the interests of governments and the church. It is raw, dense, and real. If you value this integrity, if you believe that the truth must have a voice, no matter who it offends, support the channel. Many other stories that reach the audience manipulated will find their most realistic voice here. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and above all, share widely.